What is going on, everyone? Thanks for coming in for part 2 of this series. As you'll see, I talk a lot about my journey as an artist and kind of the things that I think about while I'm making art and when I'm not making art. So hope you enjoy, and if you have any questions or comments, please comment in the link below. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Helps me out a lot. And for those who don't know me, my name is Brian Hoffmeister. I'm an American artist living in Vietnam. One day I'll make an intro video, and if it's there now, that means that I made it after this video was published. I start off this video talking about how dangerous it is. I don't mean literally, I just mean that, well, I'll explain it, but it just seems a little strange. So I just wanted to warn you that no artists were in danger during the filming of this video. So enjoy. This is very dangerous work, working on pristine white paper, working very minimally, and you always have to be conscious of your hands being clean. I've seen artists that will wear gloves while they work and stuff like that. I'm not that kind of crazy. And I've noticed that most of the marks that sometimes happen can be erased with an actual eraser, even if it's not a pencil that is making the mark. This ruler is kind of ancient at this point and has old marks on it, and sometimes, every once in a while, I just need to go wash my hands because I've got smudge. I'd start leaving smudge marks, and you never know when will be the time that it's the last, it's like the last straw, and you've left a mark that you can't erase, and you've put hours of work into a piece, and you've put a smudge on it, and there's no way to hide it. So I should actually be even more careful than I am, but I don't know. I just like to live dangerously. So I was recently on a friend's podcast, and it's someone I've known since high school. And so he knows me pretty well, but he also barely knows me because we haven't really been in communication for 20 years. He commented that after looking at my work, he said he wondered whether or not I was a perfectionist. And I immediately was like, no, I'm not. And I said, oh, if you look closely, you can see lots of mistakes in my work, and I think mistakes are the interesting thing. But at the same time, I guess the more I do this work, number one, the fewer times I make mistakes, which I wonder if I have to be cognizant of that and be worried about it. A lot of my early kind of excitement was from mistakes. And it was partially because I just wasn't in the habit of doing this, so I would just make a line wrong, and that wrong line would be oh, I could do that to a further degree, and it'll be interesting. But the more that I do this, the less often that I make those mistakes. And it's also partially because I used to, work just in ink, and I didn't have the best quality paper, and all that stuff, and like now the paper I use is expensive, and I'm like back to my old self where every commodity I have is like precious, and I don't want to like make a mistake because I don't want to waste the paper or the pen or the time. Now time more than it used to be, but so I guess it's just like kind of a reflexive thing that I'm like slightly being more of a perfectionist. I do take more time than I used to. I plan more. But also just with the experience of doing it so many times, it's just like I foresee a potential mistake before it happens, and I anticipate it and avoid it before it even happens. So another thing that I've stopped doing is like, as I make my way around, I never do the last connector, and I do that at the very end just to clean up the perimeter, because there's always like a little tiny bump sticking out or often, and it just cleans up the whole perimeter visually. I can't wait till the end, but this little smudge is really bothering me, so I'm just gonna do it. I'm going to take this moment to go wash my hands, because even though I know I can erase them, they're all I see in my peripheral vision, and it distracts me. So that's actually what made me think about, am I a perfectionist, is the fact that I can't handle seeing a smudge while I work. So I'm also really new to making videos in general. And I find that I tend to be more careful while I'm filming myself, where potentially other people can visually see me make a mistake as it happens. Because by the time I'm finished, when I make a mistake, and by mistake I mean something like if the ruler's slightly off and the points aren't connecting properly, or I go slightly outside the shape, like those, because at the end these pieces have so much complexity, mistakes are often just lost visually, and you have to really like search to find them. But as they're being made, they're glaring in some ways, because geometry is like, it's just precision. Like it's very clear when something's not mathematically correct. So I guess that's another way I think about whether or not I'm a perfectionist. I think that like this act of self-documenting leads me to be even more of a perfectionist, which is so weird. I've never identified as something like that my whole life. So it's really weird to kind of say it out loud. And I think that there's probably a big push and pull within me to sort of acknowledge, embrace, and defy perfectionism. So I guess I shouldn't really think about it too much, because I'm sure, right now I'm doing very spare, minimal pieces that like are super clean and technical, but I just know that like I'll finish this series and then I'll be like, all right, I need to be messy and like make mistakes. So, I'll embrace that when it comes. I made a Twitter post recently. I'm trying to use Twitter better. I don't know if it's a visual medium or not, and like I would really like to be witty and or thoughtful on Twitter. And so I did post an image recently of a piece, and the image is of a recent collage piece. I think it's number 507, permutation number 507. And in it, it's the permutation shape and a like a French street painter. Like I don't know if you've ever been to Paris, but like you can find so many like artists who just like sell in little booths around the Seine, and you know they sell all kinds of different art. And so this image is of like one of those street artists working at an easel, but he's sort of like regarding the permutation as his subject matter. And I was thinking about like how the piece reminded me sort of like of a self-portrait of like me looking at an imaginary permutation. So then I was like thinking about what the permutation means to me, because people often ask me like, what does it symbolize something? What's it mean? And like, honestly, a lot of times I don't like the question like, what does it mean? And I usually tell people like, it means whatever you want it to mean. It doesn't mean anything without what your interpretation is. But I'm starting to think about actually ascribing a meaning that's sort of an overarching meaning, and that is that the permutation is the concept of art itself. And me making these is like a dialogue between me and art. And each new piece is sort of like a question or answer in that dialogue. And with that in mind, it kind of opens new doors for me on how to interpret what I'm doing. At least right now, impulsively, that's what I'm thinking about. I don't know if that will persist, or if it really has as much potential conceptually as like I initially thought when I thought. But it will be something I hold on to and like mull over and maybe talk about again in the future. I'm not used to being conceptual when I work, which is something that I've sort of felt self-conscious about. And, you know, it goes back to what's a critic, what's an art, and what's the value. Like, does it matter if it's art to me? Like, if like some person or authority says that it's art, does that matter to me? I guess ultimately it sort of does. I mean, I would love to be in a sort of established huge gallery show and stuff and be recognized for what I think is interesting work. And I have to say, like, I have some friends in the art world who have been clearly silent about my work. You know, like I've noticed that they intentionally never comment on my work. Like, they're my friends and we talk about other things, but they sort of like have never offered any critique of any kind, which just makes me think that they don't appreciate what I do. And I guess maybe I'm too nervous to find out for sure, so I never ask them. And who knows, maybe they don't offer it because they think that unsolicited advice is not, you know, not politic or something like that. And maybe all it takes is me asking. But like I said, I get nervous and I'm afraid that they're going to be like, yeah, your work's just not my cup of tea. I don't know. I usually don't like think about things like that, but I guess it's just when people who are in the art world, like I want them to come to me and say, oh yeah, you're doing really interesting things. And I don't know, I guess that's maybe something that I'll have to deal with eventually, and like, actually corner someone and say, I want your honest opinion. But I guess I need to be mentally ready for that. And, the interesting thing is, like, I've sold a lot of work, and I've gotten lots of validation that way. But the means by which I've sold work has been, I've sold to a lot of acquaintances, a lot of friends, and I have sold to quite a few strangers, and those people become my friends. And is that a measurement of like the value of my work? Is that a valid measurement of like, am I doing a good job? I don't know. I guess I have to think it's at least some rubric. It would be, I guess that makes me think about, like, I always think about Joseph Cornell as an artist, and the fact that he like was just making art in his apartment and no one knew about it for years, and he was like just this weird obsessive artist. And would I rather all of my work be discovered after I'm dead and like be like revered, or would I rather be known now and like get to meet people and like live the life of an artist because I can? I guess ideally I want both. I mean, it's not like I'm famous or anything, but at least like right now I'm selling some work. Last year was such a great year for me. Being so prolific, living in Shanghai, it was like the perfect storm, and I sold almost 100 pieces last year, which I still like sometimes can't believe. And then, now this year we live in this podunk town in Vietnam, so we don't have any contact with other foreigners. We, and now pandemic has happened, and the George Floyd, civil rights actions in the United States have really like upset everyone and made everyone reprioritize what their lives are about, including me. And it's like, it just seems strange to sell art right now. But we kind of a little bit got used to having extra income from me selling work, and now we don't have that as much. I mean, I'm fortunate to have sold some work in the past couple months, but it's still not nearly as much as I was selling last year. So that's the other thing. It's like, I always say when artists don't think money isn't important, or the monetary value of a piece is not important and all that stuff, it's like, that's such a place of privilege to say that, because there are so few people in the world who have the opportunity to make art and not worry about whether they'll be paid for it. And typically those people are white men. So, I mean, of which I am one, but I feel like I carved this niche, and I'm definitely sacrificing to do this because I'm not building a 401k. I'm not having a career that like I can count on. So it's definitely a huge sacrifice to make art that I only occasionally sell. Didn't quite intend on going there. I'm still trying to figure out what my voice is, what I'm trying to say when I make these videos. So please comment. Please, like, if I say something that resonates with you, comment and tell me what you think, because I really want to know what that I can say is of interest or value. Because, like, you know, I'm sitting here making art in front of people, and it's super formulaic what I'm doing right now. I can't really explain anything other than showing you what the formula is. And occasional steps happen where I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do this, and it's like, that's the information. But like, while I'm making this piece, I'm not going to say, all right, now I'm moving the ruler here, because it's like self-evident, and it's not really rocket science. So I don't know the value of me like trying to give tutorials, you know. So if I'm not giving tutorials and I'm showing these videos, what are they about? Are they about being an artist? Are they about art itself? Are they about being an expat artist? Are they about being a gay artist? Are they about all of the above? I've been watching more videos about, you know, YouTubing as a thing, and it seems like having too broad of a category is often a mistake, because it's hard to brand that. It's hard to like be a searchable idea. And indeed, when I was looking at like, when I searched for expat artists, there's like almost none on YouTube. So either that's an opportunity because there's like not many there, but I don't know, YouTube's been around a long time. It seems like if it was a thing, it would have happened already. And, you know, I don't even know if my life as an expat is that interesting. Because I sit in a studio all day and make art and like don't really have a lot of expat adventures the way like, you know, like a travel blogger might. So, yeah, I don't know that life informs my art enough to even consider. Maybe I've just worked that out. Maybe that's my decision. It's like, there's no sense in like trying to be a sort of like expat artist, you know, where I'm like, here's me walking around Vietnam looking for art supplies, and then going home and making something with those supplies, because I don't really do that much. My supplies are pen, paper, paint. I don't really use unconventional materials too often. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about that now. So even though I drew this line in, what I really like is where I occasionally go outside of that line and create these sort of really unexpected, jagged, organic kind of interactions that, sometimes if I go about it the wrong way, it doesn't look as natural. And it's like, I've done some of these where I just didn't like the jagged edge, and I almost don't know what I do when I love it. I don't know what I've done that made it so successful. So that's kind of interesting because it's just it's something that I feel like I should be able to put my finger on, and the fact that I can't is kind of I don't know any other word for it, but interesting. It's like, what did I do so special that time? And for a long time I've had a theory about the importance of doing what I did today, of doing these points first and then doing the points around it, and what I'm seeing right now is kind of substantiating that for me. So I'm kind of glad. A lot of times I've tried unsuccessfully to do that, and I feel like this time it's better. So that's good. What I want to have happen is a hypothesis, an experiment, and now I have a theory. And I have to just keep trying to do it over and over again to replicate it and make sure I can replicate it. And I guess one of the issues with that is I don't always do these sort of cutoff permutations, so it's hard to remember what I did last time to replicate, which is why it's good to do mini-series like this where I'm doing something similar for a concentrated amount of time, so I can really get muscle memory on things and get just a more unconscious familiarity with some of these processes, because when I'm working on a partially unconscious level, my mind is able to kind of look at things in a more detached way, I guess, and a more analytical way.
Keep dancing with the devil, but it is alive.